I ended up telling him about the amount of money is going to be paid when he gets to that position to have. He was appointed. He became a chief of staff. He is a chief of staff now. So I'm friends with Brigadier Nhlanhla. Brigadier Nhlanhla has got a brother who's Nhlanhla, who works for IPID. And that Nhlanhla works with Nkabinde. That's how I got to know Nkabinde first. So the engagement in Nkabinde was always about work issues, mostly, nothing else. Until he's out of the job, then we'll start telling me about how is he trying to make the ends living and how he's trying to survive on things. So we ended up having those casual talks with him. That's why I said earlier, I don't necessarily know much about his private life, not much about his family. I will know his house, I know his wife and his 2 boys, but the rest, I didn't necessarily know much about him because we're not friends to that extent. It's people that know each other. So the engagement between myself and Mr. Nkabinde and the minister only happened on the day when Mr. Nkabinde took me to Mpangeni. I drove with him to Mpangeni where we met the minister. And it was just to show that he knows the minister and there was nothing else more that was discussed. There was no promise of a job. There was nothing else. That's why I said earlier, I cannot remember at the time whether the minister was at public service or was at water or what, but I like to believe perhaps he was already at water. But because I didn't pay attention, I cannot tell you exactly definitely the day when we visited which department he was working for. But I knew that he was a minister at the time. So therefore there was no telephone calls between us in relation to his appointment. So his appointment as a chief of staff, I said at the time he was working for IPID. He left IPID, he was unemployed. Up until the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhwanazi, was appointed as a Minister of Police. That is when he invited Nkabinde to come and join him to work with him as a chief of staff. That was the first time Nkabinde got to be employed, literally basically moving from a very junior rank that he was holding in the police to a chief director position that he ended up occupying, which he occupies now, a chief director in the office of the minister. So that's why I said earlier, when he received the phone call from the minister asking him to become a chief of staff, he had no clue what is a chief of staff. He phoned me to ask me, what do chief of staffs do? Because the only thing Nkabinde knew is a case docket, because he was just an investigator. That's all he knew. So when he's invited to become a chief of staff was a shocker to him. But I ended up telling him about the amount of money is going to be paid when he gets to that position. Obviously, I did not know about other qualifications that he needed to have, but he was appointed. He became a chief of staff. He is a chief of staff now. I hope I've covered that.
Honorable Nombalo, are you fine? Okay. Honorable Sangun.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think I've got 2 questions for clarity, although one might be procedural. The first one, I know that the evidence leader did ask the general why he went to see the minister, and I think the general said they wanted to meet. That's where I need clarity, because I'm interested to know whether it's normal procedure that a provincial commissioner is just introduced to ministers, or was there any other reason? And then secondly, when the general then went to see the minister, was the general aware at the time that the minister was a person of interest? Because he would have had, he would be privy to this information that is coming out. Then, Chairperson, my last question is just about procedure. I'm looking for clarity on procedure. The general in his testimony did indicate that there are questions that are being raised that don't cover the statement. Now, we've said as this ad hoc committee that we're not going to try and push anything under the carpet, but I'm worried where we are going to constantly be encountering testimony that is not in the statement. Now, will we be getting a supplementary statement, for example, on those issues so that when we engage them, we would at least have them on the record? Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.